Welcome to the Munro Live podcast. Today we have a special guest, Chris from Dirty Tesla. So thanks for joining us. Chris has about 97,000 subscribers on YouTube. You are one of the first beta testers for Tesla FSD. Mm-hmm. And I want to get to know you a little bit more, talk about your journey from 2019 until today, and a lot of the interesting stories along the way. So thanks for coming on the show.
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about everything today.
Yeah. So start with 2019. Mm-hmm. What prompted you to start the channel, and explain Dirty Tesla to our viewers who may not know what that's about?
Sure. Yeah. So I got my first Tesla in 2019, a Model 3. And before that, I was driving a Ford Focus. So I wanted the cheapest car, the most efficient car. I didn't really care about cars at all. But like a lot of people, Tesla caught my eye. I'm really into tech. So of course that side of it, the self-driving, I was really interested in. And the electric part I actually thought was going to be annoying. Yeah. I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to charge it all the time and spend time doing that, but maybe it'll be worth that to try this other cool tech. And I live on a dirt road. And so like a lot of people, when they are new to these things, I was like, oh, can they drive on dirt roads? Like I thought they were super sensitive or whatever. So I did all this kind of research and I didn't really find much. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. It's a car. Come on. How bad can it be? So I got the car and it was just constantly dirty because I live on a dirt road. And it's the first thing people would always say, like, you got this nice car and it's so dirty. So I was like, all right, instead of getting that commented a million times every video, I'm just going to name myself Dirty Tesla. Before they even see the video, they know what's going on. They know what to expect. But I had been attempting to start a YouTube channel for, 8, 9, 10 years, something like that, before, I made this channel.
Yeah, so are those other attempts, were they about other topics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had just a general vlog channel, of course, I tried that. Tech channel I did a very long time ago. So that was my first channel. And that one actually got banned from YouTube. So when the partner program on YouTube first started, you didn't need 1,000 subscribers. You didn't need all these metrics. You basically just signed up. You were like, hey, I want to make money. And they're like, okay, here's some ads on your videos. And that was it. Yeah. So I did that. I signed up. I had, 20 subscribers or something. I was getting a couple views per video.
A couple views per video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple views. This was early days. I was brand new. Yeah, it was like almost nothing. So I tell all my friends, and I'm like, hey, listen, I was already into the metrics. I was like, if you watch my videos and you spend time watching them and you come back, YouTube will suggest them to other people. And I get money. On top of that, if you click any of the ads, I get more money. Isn't that crazy? Like, all you got to do is watch these videos, because back then it wasn't a thing. And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll watch them. So I had one friend. We're in college.
Yeah. And I see where this is going.
And she's sitting in class, and she's just watching my videos in class, and she's clicking all the ads the whole time, sitting in class. And I look, and I made, $1 or something that day or whatever, some small amount of money. And I was like, oh, thanks. I really appreciate that. And then a couple days later, YouTube bans me for, fake clicks, basically. I didn't tell her to do that. I just suggested my friends to watch my channel. And so all those years ago, that channel, that could have grown, because it was growing, got banned. And I kind of gave up for a little bit after that. But
and that was 2012, 14?
Oh, that was earlier than that. That had to be 2009 or 2010. Whenever the partner program first started, I don't remember exactly what year, but it was almost exactly when it first started. So
yeah. Well, now you made it. Now you have a valid channel.
Yeah. So I did a gaming channel. I did all these things, and I started Dirty Tesla. And it basically was just, I made this channel to be, to kind of just share my experience with the car. I'm just some normal guy. It's kind of like, I don't want to be special. I don't want to be, a celebrity or some big rich person who just buys whatever they want. I'm just a normal guy who spent a lot of money on a car, and I want to share the experience.
Yeah.
Because, people don't know about electric cars, or at least back then they didn't. So.
And now you have 30 million views in the past 4 years, which is incredible. That's a lot of views. How many videos? Probably hundreds of videos, hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, I don't look at those metrics too much. A few, 200 or 300, something like that. So in the early days, I was posting every other day. I would have a video. I was going hard. Since then, now that the channel's established, it's not as important for me to do that. I think when you're new, you want to have consistency, especially in like kind of quality, at least as good as you can when you're new. But now I have, 2 kids, and I still work full time. So I don't have as much time to kind of, run around doing all these different things I used to do.
Yeah. So you're most well known to me as being someone who tests FSD Beta. Like that is what, when I think of Dirty Tesla, I think of you out there testing at roundabouts or different right turns. And I don't consume all your content, but I've seen a decent amount of it. So explain how that got started. You said you're one of the first beta testers. Can you go through the versions you've had, the experiences you've had, steps forward and backward, spend some time talking about that journey of your content.
So when the channel first started, FSD Beta wasn't a thing. Actually, when I first got my car, the car couldn't even make its own lane changes on its own. All it could do was basically the lane keep and the speed keep. That was it. And you could use the turn signal to do an automatic lane change. That's all it could do. Still at that time, it was very fascinating to me and a lot of people because not a lot of cars had this ability. And when you really take a step back, like pretend it's 20 years, pretend it's 1990, right? A car driving itself by keeping itself in the lane and keeping its speed it's pretty crazy to think about. So at that time, I thought it was very fascinating. So I'm doing videos about the software updates, the new, because Sentry mode, we didn't used to have that. That got added to the car. That was cool to make a video about. Along with that, I would do these videos of the car driving itself. So it received an update called Navigate on Autopilot, which basically lets the car do everything on the highway. So it can change lanes to pass slower traffic. It can take exits. It can do interchanges, a full interchange onto another highway. And so I would do videos about that where I called it Tesla Challenge, and I would turn it on. I would do exactly what Tesla advertised and let the car drive everything as long as it was safe. And people really enjoyed those, and I liked making them. I could make them just on my commute to work. I could make them, commuting over here. I actually made a video on the way here because it's a pretty long drive and it's interesting. So even before full self-driving beta was a thing where the car could make all these turns and everything, I was decently well known for making those videos along with other things. Well, full self-driving beta came out, I believe it was October of 2020, to just a few people. And people were talking about it on Twitter. At first, it was like 2 people on Twitter. Like that was it. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I want this, of course. And it rolled out to some more. And I was not one of them. And I was honestly a little disappointed. I was kind of like, hey, I've been making these Tesla videos for years. One of my videos was in a screenshot in a official Tesla presentation they gave.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, at a talk. Cool. Yeah, and so I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, they
copyright strike them.
Stealing my
that's
stuff.
A YouTube joke there.
Yeah. So these guys know who I am, at least to some extent. I had never had any contact with them or anything. And I was like, so they know I'm safe. I think that was the biggest thing. They want people to be safe. So I kind of was tweeting about it. And I was like, well, I don't know, guys. And people were like, why don't you have it? And so it was this whole thing. Twitter kind of went crazy, tweeting at Elon. And at the time, Andrej Karpathy was, there, like, hey, get this guy on beta, And then I eventually did get added. It's hard to know if it was that campaign, that caused it. But I was one of the first, at least 1,000, but maybe even a few hundred that was driving it.
Yeah, and then you're in Michigan, which is the backyard of the big 3, which you could kind of see as the established players versus Tesla, the newcomer. How's that affected, how you create content or the perception of you being in Michigan?
Yeah, no, that's actually a big part of it because, like I said, I didn't really care about vehicles at all before. It's not something I was interested in. But as you can imagine, most of my family were somehow involved. My mom worked at dealerships most of my life growing up. My father-in-law worked at GM. I knew people that worked at all the big 3, of course. And when I got this Tesla, it was all this, that you still see sometimes today of like, what the heck, like it's this dumb electric thing. Like it's going to die in 2 years or it only goes 100 miles. I had a guy actually say to me, he's like, I know a place. He's like, you love your car, but I know a place in the US. It cannot go because there's not even a gas station there. It's too far. And I go, oh my, I'm thinking, oh, he got me. He goes, it is 78 miles with not a single building from here to here. And I'm like, okay. People obviously don't understand what these EVs are about. So I, of course, gave tons of rides. Not everybody wanted a Tesla after that, but every single person walked away like, wow, that's actually pretty nice. Yeah. They were surprised by the acceleration. They were surprised by how smooth it felt. They were surprised, they all thought golf cart. Yeah. For whatever reason, they thought, oh, it's going to be really slow. It's going to have terrible acceleration. It's going to be cramped. Yeah. So.
And if you're a millennial, which I am, and you ever had an RC car, you would spend 4 or 6 hours charging the nickel metal hydride batteries.
Yes.
And it would last like 3 or 8 minutes. It was the most disappointing endeavor trying to charge and use an RC car before they had good LiPo batteries. And it drove me crazy.
Those are the ones you have to kill, right?
Yeah.
All the way and then charge all the way. You can't use them in the middle.
It's horrible.
There was a lot of that too, of like, wait, what about if you don't charge the battery 100%? And I'm like, it's not that sensitive.
So many misconceptions there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now fast forward to today, you're now testing some of the higher end versions of FSD Beta. Can you tell us some of your least favorite updates, if you remember them by name? So you probably remember like 11 dot whatever. And was there any that were like a step backwards, or they started doing things that were jittery, or you're like, oh man, what happened? Can you go into that detail?
Sure. Yeah, there's a bunch of 11 and 10 dot whatevers in my head. So the really interesting thing, so we got this update. Elon was all excited about 10.69, of course. He's like, oh, this is the one. And we get 10.69 on our cars, and it actually was very good. I take it out for a drive. And there was this time in early beta, I think a little background will help, was very bad. If you go watch the old videos, you would go, 30 seconds or a minute and the car's, jerking the steering wheel off to the right or something. And you're like, what the heck? Like, why are you doing that? There's nothing here. We're going in a straight line.
Yeah.
And so you get to today where the car can go miles and miles and miles without you having to do anything. Well, Elon would kind of pump these things up on Twitter and be like, oh, this update is going to be the one. And this is, a couple of years ago, and you didn't really notice much difference. And I would say in the video, like, okay, I thought this was like, mind blowing and all these things, and it wasn't. So we get to 10.69, and it's very good. It's amazing. The car is doing a lot of things all by itself finally. It's very smooth. It feels comfortable. It's making turns. And then you get 10.69.1, .2, whatever, and it actually starts to get worse. And I'm trying to, I am not, I don't code. I'm not, I don't have a background in that. So I don't try to approach it from that. It's just from an end consumer. Again, I'm just like some guy testing this stuff out. And I'm trying to think what's going on here? Why is this getting worse when it was so good? And then it kind of has these regressions. And you see the same thing. We're now on version 11.3.6. That's the current public version. 11.3 or .1 or whatever it was very good. And then it started to take these steps back. And I don't know if they just ramp up the safety as they roll it out to more people and make it so the car's more timid, or brakes for more things than it would before when it shouldn't. But yeah, there have been a few step backs. But if you look overall at the whole thing, I actually track the stats and everything. Over the years, it's much better than it was. And it's very impressive that, again, just anyone can go buy a Tesla, buy FSD, turn it on for the most part, and then it drives you around 95% of the time or whatever it is.
Yeah, our Model 3 we paid for it, $10,000 at the time, FSD, and we have FSD Beta now, but we rarely use it. I think we just now updated the car, and Sue and Sandy said they were trying to get it to drive home, and I don't know if they figured it out. So unfortunately, we here at Munro, we're so focused on tearing the cars down and figuring out what they cost and how they're made and kind of the advantage there that we don't spend as much effort looking at the FSD stuff because, frankly, you guys you are so good at that, and you have so much history and all the intricacies that we kind of leave it to yourself and the other people out there.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone has kind of their kind of niche on YouTube. And I mean, you guys, even as big as you are, even before your channel, I remember people used to just cover what Sandy would say.
Yeah.
And I thought, I was like, why don't these guys just make a channel? And then you did.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you had a great idea. But everyone has their niche. And I'm sure even though you guys, as big as you are, have noticed that if you go outside of that, even a little bit, you get nothing. And it's not the audience's fault so much. It's really YouTube. They will not push your things if you go too far out of that. So it makes sense that,
Yeah, we have some famous videos where we went way outside of our realm. Like we once got an iPhone 13 Pro, and I had Sandy do an unboxing of an iPhone 13 Pro and get his reaction. So it was a reaction video in the cell phone space of Sandy, like whipped his knife out, opened it up. It was so bad. It's like one of our worst 20 videos. I think it has 12,000 views.
And iPhone videos are huge.
I know. And that
unboxing videos are huge.
My point was, it's like I tried to do all these things that are super popular on You know, Jerry Rigg does that. And we added a little Sandy flavor about like what the box costs, because it was the first time they sent it without the charger. So we talked about the savings, and I even made like a really crazy thumbnail, like billions of dollars in savings. We did the math. Nothing.
I know, isn't it strange?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. You can break out of that box if you really want to. And it's so funny because my channel's always been Tesla related, because those are the cars I owned. But I've moved into almost this box of just FSD. So not even Tesla. And, I've had a few breakout videos. Actually, I think my most viewed video isn't even about FSD. It's about the range in the winter or something.
Yeah.
Actually, out of my top 10 videos, only I think one is FSD Beta. The rest are other things. Actually, the Mach-E, I think that's one of my top 10 videos, funny enough. But you get kind of stuck in those little, little boxes by YouTube.
And is it only you on the videos? Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much me. That one actually was kind of I don't know if you call it a collab exactly, but with, Kyle Connor from Autospec. He was here and he was testing the Mach-E. Ford gave him, a Mach-E before it was out. And he messaged me. He's like, hey, I'm going to be in Michigan. Do you want to check this out? I was like, of course. I love EVs in general. I want to see the Mach-E. And I didn't even plan on filming that day. I just wanted to check it out and, meet him and say hi and stuff. And he was like, hey, you're going to film? I was like, I don't know. I wasn't thinking about it. He's like, just film it. Like, no one has this car. He's like, you can't release it till, whatever this date, Ford said, but just film it. I was like, okay, fine. So I start filming, and I'm like, hey, here's the Mach-E. And I didn't know that much about it because I wasn't planning on filming.
Did you have Blue Cruise? Did it work?
No, they didn't have Blue Cruise back then.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't have back then. And I'm filming, but I didn't know much about it because I wasn't planning on filming. And he goes, here, let me tell you about it. And I go, okay. And he gives me this really good, like, walk around, and we're kind of talking back and forth. Then we go for a ride and do all this stuff. So, I like the car. It had some kind of traffic aware cruise control thing, whatever it was called at the time, but Blue Cruise wasn't out yet. And it worked okay. But the thing I found weird is it turned off and didn't tell you. So he had it on, and then it went around a bend or something, and it turned off, and there was no chime. There's just a little graphic on the display. So I was kind of confused. It's like, how would you even...
Did it say grab the wheel?
I don't know what it said, but there was no chime. I thought it was very weird.
Yeah, we have an F-150 Lightning, and it has Blue Cruise, and I took it to Chicago, and it actually worked really well.
Okay, that's
because
good.
It's hands-free.
Yeah.
I just kind of sat there for 80, 100 miles at a time, never touched the wheel.
That's awesome.
It was great. But they had a big graphic that said grab the wheel if it needs you to grab the wheel.
Okay. And did it make a noise?
I don't remember.
Okay. Because I think that's kind of key. Because I'm not looking at the screen when I'm using those things. You're looking around. You're looking out at the other cars. I don't know. I just found it kind of jarring. But
so your best video is a Mach-E video.
That's not my best one.
Oh, okay.
My best one's about a Tesla I think that's number one, in the winter.
Did you get 1 million views?
Yeah. I have 2 videos with 1 million views. Isn't that crazy?
Nice.
Yeah.
We only have 2 over 1 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising.
The Elon interview got like 3.4 million.
Wow.
And then we had one, it was the VW gearbox. Volkswagen sent us a VW ID4 motor and inverter and gearbox. They sent it to us and said, we can do a video.
Yeah.
And we did the video, and they asked for it back. And I think it was we got it before you could get an ID4.
Okay.
And
that
then they embargoed it a little. We released it, and for some reason, we think that every employee from VW watched it or something.
Right.
And it has just been like a stable and growing and growing.
That's so nice.
And then we have like 50 videos. I don't want to get this wrong, Eric. Are you looking at it? I think we have like 50 videos over 250,000 or 300,000. Like we have a huge chunk that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 600,000.
Yeah.
That's good for us.
Yeah, I've learned. Do you know? Man, I'm gonna blank on the name of the channel. Do you know Matt Farrell? From he's got such a good channel. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of it. But he does reviews of solar and should you do this or like future tech that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think he just passed 1 million subscribers. So he's got a big channel. I've talked to him a few times and I was talking with him and he kind of said
it's undecided.
Undecided, yes. Undecided with Matt Farrell.
And we invited him on the pod.
Yeah, he's great. He's a very nice guy and he's very smart. He was telling me, he's like, what I've kind of learned in my journey of doing this is, yeah, it's cool that you get the big videos and whatever. He's like, but what you really should try to pay attention to, this is his advice, is your bottom videos. What's kind of the minimum you can get per post? And, he looked over my channel and he was like, you're doing really good. Because it's hard when you compare yourself to, I'm sure you guys do the same thing, to another channel. You're like, oh, this is garbage. I'm not getting any traction. And that put it really into perspective for me of like, I do feel really good that I can, post most videos and hit 20-ish thousand views. Because back in the day, getting, 5,000 views was like, oh, this is, great.
Yeah, for us, I feel like the minimum threshold for decent content video, meaning we have a car or review, for us is like 35 to 60,000. That is like our...
Really? I thought you guys were getting like 100K minimum.
That is like minimum expectation for, let's say we get a press vehicle, right? Yeah. And it's, I don't even know.
Nobody cares
Eric,
about.
what's a recent press vehicle we got that was blah?
The Toyota.
Yeah, so we got the Toyota BZ4X.
Oh, yep.
So we did probably 4 or 5 videos. What's the average on those? Probably like 50,000. But if we do anything on Tesla, or if there's a leaked image and we do a video on that, I'm expecting 200 to 300,000 on that.
That's crazy, huh?
So if it has Tesla in the name, there's just tons of Tesla crazies.
Yeah.
We love you that love to consume the content.
I'm one of them.
Rivian, drop it down by about a third. We did a whole Rivian series, and where we do the motor video for a Tesla, we get 500, 600,000. We do a motor video for the Rivian, we get 100, 150,000. It's just like the algorithm, or it's just not in the news as much.
The algorithm is a big part of it, but Tesla still to this day is just so clickable. I don't know what it is. And that was, another, talking about starting the channel, another kind of reason I started the channel is there are so many Tesla channels. And I have even friends who will say like, oh, I kind of want to start a channel, but there's so many. I'm like, there's never too many. You just do. Who cares? Just do it. Yeah. If you have good stuff, people will watch it. That's all that matters.
I think what's really important is you bring something unique. You're not copying. Right. I don't like the channels that copy or regurgitate other people's content. So there's some people that just do tons of reaction videos where they just take like our content. If you look at the copyright strike section, there's like hundreds and hundreds of people who just rip like 90% of our footage. But because we're an engineering firm first, I'm like, well, you know what? It's another...
Get the name out there.
5-10 million people watching our stuff through these channels that are kind of, yoinking our content. But when it's just pure highway robbery, we do stop that. But if people add a little commentary or, they're actually doing a reaction video, we allow that.
Yeah, a percentage get back to you, so it's kind of worth it. I gave up on the copyright strikes because I would have that too, where people would literally just download it and upload it. But YouTube is you have to go through this whole like legal thing where and they send, you guys probably don't care again because it's a business. But for me, they send them my name, my address, my phone number. And I'm like, just steal my video. Who knows, like one day I copyright strike some crazy person that comes to my house or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I take it. My name is Cory Steuben. Yeah. I live in Lake Orion. And because I live in Oakland County and it's very clear, I'm like one search away from my address in the Register of Deeds. Yeah. So many people, unless you bought your house with an LLC, if you know the state that someone lives in, or in general, you can geolocate someone. Yeah. That's why if somebody wants to show up at my house, they'll show up at my house. Yeah. So I'm not a, if you watch my channel, I'm sure you can know where I live. It doesn't bother me too much. I have other reasons for not making my name that easily accessible.
Okay.
Yeah. So to have one extra step for me makes me feel a little better. Yeah. Rather than, I'm going to Google this guy. Hey, here's his whole life. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. I really don't have anything I'm hiding exactly, but.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our top guys who's in a lot of our videos, we were having the same conversation. He's like, I don't want people having my cell phone number. And I just literally pulled my phone out. I Googled his name.
Yeah.
And I Googled his name, phone number. And I said, is your phone number this? And he goes, yeah, it is. And I said, it was the top return. Your name, phone number. Yeah. It was listed somewhere.
I know. At this point, it's all everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So. All right. Well, let's get back on task. So, dirty Tesla.
Yes.
I live on a dirt road as well. So my vehicle is chronically dirty. Unfortunately, I don't drive a Tesla. I drive a big SUV that has a diesel engine. I get crap about it all the
Yeah,
time.
I was going to bring that up.
But
I don't care. You drive whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
If Ford or General Motors or Chrysler, actually, I don't care who, made something that's big. I'm talking bigger than an EV9, bigger than a Rivian R1S.
Okay, that's where I was going to go.
Because I took an R1S home. Hummer, no. The Hummer doesn't have the utilitarian space.
Yeah.
I want essentially an electric Suburban.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Electric Suburban.
Yeah, the batteries are not good enough.
I know.
We're getting there. It'll be soon, but yeah, the battery's not good enough. I think Tesla is going to have they're going to have a van, right? There was like that leaked list of upcoming things. Van, and then I'm pretty sure we're going to get something like that eventually. Yeah. I can't give too many details, but again, being in this area, I talked to someone who, this was a long time ago. So, I mean, months and months ago. So, should be okay. I don't know anything.
Okay.
He went there to check out the lines in, I think it was Fremont. And he said, there's something new coming. And I go, oh, yeah, Cybertruck. You're helping with Cybertruck. He goes, no. You've never heard of this. And I'm like, what do you mean I've never heard of this? He goes, I promise. You've not heard of this. I was like, well, tell me. He's like, I can't. I'm under NDA. And I'm like, so am I.
We told you that. So.
Yeah. And again, it was a long time ago, so I think it's probably okay now.
What do you hypothesize?
He wouldn't give me any more than that. That was it. So from other, things I hear around, which, it's always hard to know until it's officially announced. But I do think Tesla is aiming for maybe not as big as you want, but more of a like R1S shaped thing. Because the Model X is great. We have Model X. And, we have 2 kids. And it is amazing. I mean, I can't even, for putting the kids in and out of there and packing all the stuff in, I really can't praise it too much because it is so good. But I know a lot of people want more of that boxy shape, and they want more cargo capacity while still having all the seats there. Because the S, like all the Teslas, drops off at the back for the Aero. For us, I mean, it's fine. You can fit it all back there, but it's not what everybody wants. So,
yeah, Tesla would absolutely kill it if they just made an SUV that was 3 rows, that was the exact same size of a Grand Cherokee L, a Ford Explorer, a Kia Telluride, a Hyundai Palisade. I mean, all these big SUVs, it'd be just perfect. They'd kill it, especially if it was for sale right now. But it's going to use more batteries. Yeah. You're going to have a bigger battery because of the reduced aero. Right. When you're pushing a brick through the air, I don't know.
Well, and there's no reason for them to do that. Yeah. Because they sell everything they make. Yeah. So they can put less batteries in 3s and Ys and push them all. So, yeah, we need Cybertruck.
Yeah, what's your thought on Cybertruck?
I can't wait.
How many do you think will be made this year? Here's your prediction.
Okay, my professional engineering prediction for Cybertruck, I know nothing, is I think we're going to get like 5,000 of them this year.
That's what I say.
Yeah, really? Wow. Look
at me. I actually was interviewed on Frazad's channel like 3 or 6 months ago, and I initially said, I think it was in November. I said, maybe 25 to 50,000. He goes, really? And I immediately go, oh, let me think.
Yeah.
I said, no, and I immediately backtracked down, and I've since have been asked again, and I've been saying 5,000 or less.
Yeah. So where does that come in terms of like the no paint? I mean, that saves a lot of time because you got to paint, let it dry, paint, let it dry. And then I want you to talk a little more about this if you don't mind. The whole folding of everything. I mean, does that save that much time?
So have you ever been you've been in a plant while it's running?
Giga Texas was running in demo mode.
Yeah. So for stamping, so let's talk about, you said folding and stuff. Yeah. That's going to be way more complicated than the traditional stamping methodology
That's what I've heard.
Of a vehicle, because you're dealing with much larger parts and then they're like break bent, right? It's going to be a slower process. So if you look at Giga Berlin, which I've been in, they have a whole stamping line and they'll run one set of dies and there'll be one piece coming out every like second and a half.
Right.
Now, the reason why you'll see all these storage racks of hoods and fenders and doors is because they stamp at a higher rate than the assembly line, which produces at one vehicle every 45 seconds.
Okay.
So if they're stamping one part every second,
Right.
then they're going 45 times as fast. So they actually have to store all those parts. Then they'll use that same stamping line. They'll put new dies in. So they'll do the hood on one day. They'll do the fender on one day, so they'll,
Got it. Yep.
and then they'll store it. And that's why you see these storage racks, body side outers, and they actually explain that when you walk through the plant.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were there, they were actually stamping the rear portion of the trunk lid. They were flying off like every.
That's crazy.
It's like every 3/4 of a second, it's a prog die, and then one's coming off. So the reason I'm getting at that is now you have to brake bend these large panels at a bare minimum of one every 45 seconds. And if you're doing one every 45 seconds, it's got to be at least that fast. Otherwise, you need more tools.
Yeah.
So let's say it takes you 3 minutes. Well, now you need way more tools to reach that capacity. So that's why capacity early on may be heavily limited by the amount of tooling they have on site for your slowest item. So you have to think about that. And that's why getting the giga castings to the point where they could produce one casting every 45 seconds, you need one machine for the front and one machine for the rear. So actually you need two. And a lot of it came down to you shoot the liquid metal in really fast, like under a second, milliseconds. But then you have to cool it. Then you have to have it open and be extracted. And I've been in Texas while they were casting. Okay. And you see a robot take it out and it goes on this big metal conveyor belt. And there was like 8 people around it in Texas. They were inspecting all the sprues and the runners. They're looking all over
This
it.
is for calibration.
To make sure it's quality. To make sure
for everyone they do that?
They had like eight or nine people. And so Sandy and I are very observant.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that efficient.
We were there for Investor Day, and they gave us the first place we started was the casting rack. And they had rows and rows and rows and racks of castings. It tells me they were producing the castings at a rate that was actually faster than production. Because if it matched production exactly, then what would they then you wouldn't see any inventory. So if you see inventory stored at a plant, that means they're producing at a faster rate. Okay. So something to look for is that if you see images for Cybertruck and you see body side outers, which would be the bent outside stainless steel, if you see that in storage, that means they're producing it faster than production. If you don't see any in storage, that means it's just in time. So there's things you can pick up on what they're having problems with based on how much inventory they have stored. It's a unique thing to look for in a plant.
So do you expect that with the outer body to be that quick, or?
I don't know. I feel like it'll be a challenge at first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, at first. I mean, that's how they they want to reinvent everything. And then it's worse initially, of course. And then they get faster than anyone imagined eventually.
So things that they have down pat, though. So the battery will be essentially no different than the batteries that they're making for any of their vehicles, especially if they're using 4680s and it's a structural pack.
Which is in the Y from Texas. So do you think they're going to be just using 2 of those? Or do you think it's a new pack?
Oh, it'll be a new pack.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So they wouldn't just put 2 batteries in. No, they would never fit.
Depending. You don't think so?
Oh, no.
But okay.
I bet 2 steak dinners on that.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I don't have all the math in my head, of course, but I don't know if Cybertruck's long enough and energy density is dense enough to be getting 500 miles in that plane. You know what I mean?
Oh, they're going to have to be double stacked.
Okay.
But it'll be a new pack.
Oh, I get
what you're saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 packs worth of cells.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or more.
You can tell I'm an engineer.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, it's not like a double A battery.
Right,
put 2 of them in there.
No,
God. No, it'll probably be double high.
Okay. That's what I
Tesla has the luxury that they cool from the sides, so thermal management won't be that much of a challenge. By cooling from the side, they don't cool from the bottom. So the Rivian cools from the bottom, so they actually have the cells, the bottom of the cells, like sitting like this, and then where the bottom sitting on the table, and then the other side is like underneath the table if the table was the cooling channel. So from a thermal perspective, it should be fine. From an electrical perspective, it'll be fine. You may have to have you have a different bus bar configuration because you'll have most likely 18 cells in parallel instead of 9. So the way that the math works on that, if you want to get to 400 volts, you have to have.
I think we're going 800 volts.
So if you're going 800, then if you're going 800 volts, then 9 will be in parallel.
Yeah.
So it'll essentially be twice as many.
I think 800 volts is like next to confirmed at this point. Obviously, the Cybertruck's not out, but I think he mentioned that.
Yeah.
And especially with the version 4 superchargers that get up to 1 megawatt.
And
they're not there yet.
You're going to want that for charging when you have that big of a battery.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're not up to 1 megawatt yet. Like the Semi right now charges at 750 kilowatts. So it's almost there. And Elon at the Semi event was saying Cybertruck uses the same, now I'll butcher the lingo, the same voltage and everything. I wouldn't expect it to charge at 1 megawatt, but
No.
But it's going to use that same tech from the Semi to charge way, way faster.
Yeah, and that'll make the road trip experience similar to a Model 3 or a Model Y or S.
Right.
Because when the MPGe drops, meaning now a Cybertruck's going to be getting probably 80,
Yeah, that's what I wanted
75,
to ask,
80
ask you.
MPGe,
Okay.
and not 120 or 30.
Yeah.
So your battery's bigger, so you go to charge, you think you can fill up just as fast. So like if you have a truck that has a 28-gallon tank, instead of 3 minutes, it's like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But instead of charging for 25 minutes on average, now you're charging for 45 minutes on average. So if you can charge at a higher kilowatt rating,
Yep.
now your charge time shrinks down.
Yeah, in 5 years maybe, because they don't have any of those chargers right now.
Well, when the
right?
infrastructure gets
Yeah,
there.
yeah. But I mean, right now we'll be getting Cybertrucks, a couple this year. I would assume employees only this year. I'm really hoping they get to some of us regular folk. But do you remember the Model Y? Because you were at Texas when they did that. They're like, oh, we're delivering the Model Y. And they just gave them to some employees and we never heard about it again.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally never, they just added them to the website, a week ago or something?
The Texas Model Y?
Yeah, the Texas Model Y. Before that, you could get them in inventory, but they delivered them at the delivery event at Giga Cyber Rodeo. And then they just never mentioned it again. So I hope not, but I think we're going to probably see the same thing here, where they're like, oh, he said it's Q3, so probably by like September we'll be out in Texas again. Hope I'm invited, and they'll do their delivery event of Cybertruck. I'm assuming it's gonna be the same thing. You'll see them go across the stage to a few employees, and then that's it. Like, we might not hear much for a bit. Of course, I hope I'm wrong, but
Do you know when that is in September?
no. He said they're aiming for a delivery event in Q3.
Okay.
By the end of Q3. So, it's easy to just say September. Of course, could get delayed. Even Cyber Rodeo, right? They gave us a date, and then they changed it a couple days later. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
Some people bought their plane tickets immediately because they didn't want the prices to rise.
Yeah.
And then he changed the date like a day or two later, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I already bought plane tickets.
Yeah.
So,
Should have bought with Delta. You can always change for free.
yeah, well, you should have bought on Elon time because, he doesn't know dates ever. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I always enjoy going to Texas. Eric and I have been twice, and Sandy and I get swamped by the Tesla people.
Yeah.
Do you get recognized in public?
In Cyber Rodeo, I got recognized a lot, like everywhere, not just at the factory, but like as we were driving around. It was kind of weird. It's cool. Like if anyone watching, if you ever see me, come say hi. I don't mind, but I'm not used to it. Actually, I did get recognized one time. Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. So my boss, because I still work full time.
Yeah.
We went out to lunch, me and my boss and a bunch of coworkers, because she was leaving. It was she was quitting, thank God, after this experience. And we're at, I don't know, we went to Q-Dub or something. And somebody walks up, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're Chris from Dirty Tesla. I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. And I'm standing right next to my boss. And I don't know if she knows I have a YouTube channel. I don't talk about it at work really because, I don't know, I do it in my own time, but it's just kind of weird. And this guy looks at my boss and goes, do you know who this is? Do you know who this is? And I'm like, stop. And he's like, this is Dirty Tesla. She goes, okay. And he's like, you don't know how famous he is. I'm like, I'm not famous. Like, stop. He wouldn't stop.
Did he ask to take a picture with you?
He did not take a picture with me.
I assumed it was a dude because typically they're dudes.
Yeah, it was definitely a dude. Yeah, I've never been recognized by a woman, no. But so that was very embarrassing. I was very glad it was lunch because she was leaving. Because who knows if she comes back, she's like, oh, what's going on? Are you working at work or?
Well, Dirty Tesla sounds a little dirty.
It does,
so it's like could be a performer name or something.
And it's so funny because I didn't think about that. That's even worse. It's so funny because I'm like the most straight edge person you'll ever meet.
Dirty Tesla. You make videos on the internet. I mean, put two and two together.
Well, there was a I won't go into detail, video a year ago or something. I don't remember, that made the rounds on the internet. Very dirty video involving Teslas. I was tagged more times than I wanted.
Oh.
They were like, oh, you probably, produced this one. I'm like, stop, just leave me alone. This is not my persona at all.
Oh.
Yeah. Elon commented on it and everything.
Was the vehicle on autopilot?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
No comment.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, please get this away from my brand. That's not.
That's funny.
It's so far from, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anything else you want to talk about? We covered some of your FSD stuff.
Yeah.
You being famous, kind of.
No. I'm just some guy.
Some guy.
I'm literally just some guy. I will check my notes. I had a couple notes.
Oh, wait. You're the president of the Tesla Club in Michigan.
Yes.
For the whole state.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So Tesla Owners Club of Michigan. So every state has an owners club. And it's officially associated with Tesla, with the company. And it used to be a little more involved with them, but it's a little rocky right now. But they still, communicate with us in some capacity. And you can sign up. It's engage.tesla.com. It's an official website run by Tesla. And you find your state and you sign in with your Tesla account, and then you associate yourself with that club. And they used to give perks. They haven't in a year or two, but they used to give you 20% off a piece of merch or something for being, they have your VIN when you sign in and stuff. And so that was cool. And we have events usually once a month. If you go to that website, you can see all our events. And we try to get Tesla officially coming to the events and stuff. It's kind of hard, just like when you try to talk to their PR or something, it just doesn't exist. They're just not all the most responsive, but lately they've been talking a little more. So I'm hoping we can get them to some event here soon. But yeah, I founded the club because Michigan, I guess back in the day, had one, and then it just kind of fell apart. I don't know who was running it, but they just stopped. They stopped communicating with Tesla. So I contacted the club page and I was like, hey, I see we don't have a Michigan club. And the guy at the time was like, we need one, please. And he didn't care about, YouTube or anything. He was like, I don't want any internet things. He's like, I want real people. So if you can gather, you needed 25 VINs, then you can start the club, which is very easy to do. So I got 25 VINs, and now we got to be approaching 400 members or something. So Sandy's a member.
Oh yeah, I could be a member.
You don't own a Tesla.
I have two. I do too.
You do?
I have a Model S Plaid registered in my name.
Okay.
It just doesn't drive.
That's what I thought. You can join, obviously.
No, and technically, Sandy's Model 3 is registered in my name.
Really?
It's not registered in Sandy's name.
So he doesn't own a Tesla.
I have 2 recall notices sitting on my desk.
He's
because
a
every time you
Rivian
get
imposter.
the over the air thing.
Yes, yeah. You have to get it in the...
I used to register the cars in my name because I didn't want to tip off Tesla because I wasn't in the videos early on.
Smart.
So I put them in my name, and it's like, oh, this Cory guy, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Sandy and I would show up and take delivery of the vehicles.
Yeah.
And now people know my name.
Yeah.
So
they're going to know. Tesla, I will tell you, Tesla knows what's going on social media. They watch. I don't know how. They know a lot. I got a good story for you. A guy... So back in the day, before Full Self-Driving Beta existed, have you heard of the Early Access Program?
Kind of.
So Tesla had an Early Access Program where they had these people. It was very secretive. It was employees, but also just normal people. And if you were in this program, you got software updates early. So things like Summon, not Summon, but Smart Summon, before it came out where you can drive itself all over the parking lot. They sent that to their early access program, and they said, all right, you guys test this out, make sure it's safe, blah, 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 but you cannot share pictures. You can't even talk about it. It's super under wraps. Well, things leak and people want to share and stuff. So somebody contacted me. They're like, hey, I have Smart Summon. You want to make a video about it? I was like, of course I want to make a video about it. Almost nobody has seen this. There were a couple leaked videos on YouTube, but it was very rare. And I was like, yes, but, they might take it away from you. And he's like, well, it's fine. I don't want them to, but if you want to share it, I want to share. I think it's cool. I was like, all right, well, you can stay out of the video. I'll try to censor, stuff in the car as best I can, but I can't promise they're not going to take it away.
They're going to know.
Oh, they figured it out.
They're going to know GPS.
And whatever they know. So this was back, I probably had, 30,000 subs or something. It was a long time ago. And I upload the video, and I think it was less than an hour after upload. Maybe a couple thousand, maybe 1,000 views, maybe. I get a message from the guy. Oh, they know. They pushed an update to my car, and they're taking it away. And I'm like, what? This video hasn't even been up for an hour. And I felt so bad. And, Chad, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I still talk to him sometimes.
Oh,
and I was like, let me put because that was back when they had referral code for the cars. I was like, let me put your referral code in my videos, and people can use your referral. You'll get at least some free supercharging. And so he got 4 or 5 referrals. So he got thousands of miles of free supercharging at least. But no hard feelings. He was like, yeah, I understood that could happen. I was like, okay. So that program kind of ended with full self-driving beta, kind of evolved into that.
Yeah.
So they don't really have that anymore. But
oh, geez.
yeah, I felt pretty bad. But anything, anyone try to leak anything, don't do it. They know.
Yeah. Has Tesla ever reached out to you being mad about your videos?
No, I don't think they would do that.
Okay.
No, the only official contact I've had with them, Elon has responded a few times on Twitter, if you count that as official. But outside of that is for the club. Yeah. Like years ago, like when it first started in 2020, I think the club first started, or maybe early 2021, they asked the club members to, Michigan was going to try to ban them again. So, Tesla used to be banned here, and then they let them in kind of, and then they tried to reban them. And so Tesla was like, please have all your members like email the representatives and help us out here. So we did that. But outside of that, I don't think they would officially talk to anybody like that.
Any events coming up? There's the one in Muskegon, right?
Oh, for the club? Muskegon's going to be huge. I'm pretty sure it's June 17th. That's going to be hundreds of people. We're trying to get Tesla officially involved. Can't promise.
I think we're going to be there, right, Eric? I think I'm going, Jordan,
yes,
maybe Eric.
Yep, I will be there with the whole family, making a weekend out of it.
Oh, you're bringing your family?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Should I bring my family?
You definitely can.
If you want.
I got to show up in an electric vehicle then. So I think I'll show up in the Lightning.
You should, yeah. No, we would love that. Everyone there has Teslas, so we like to see the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can bring the Lightning. No, yeah, it's definitely like a family weekend kind of thing. And you can come to the event it's over 2 days, I think. You can come for 1 hour out of the 2 days. Yeah. We're doing plaid rides. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff. So.
Oh, nice.
And it's benefiting charity, Noah's project. It's like for animals. So they're going to get a bunch of donations and stuff too.
What do they do for animals?
I think it's a shelter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they rescue them. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so definitely come to that if you can. I'm trying to make it, I don't want to take credit. We have a whole board, and like they do way more work than I do. So I'm not saying I'm doing these things, but we are trying to make it a very good.
Yeah, so you have 400 members. And how many people live in Michigan? 5 million?
Something like that.
Yeah, Sandy and I were just in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
The Austrian Tesla Club invited us to tag along to their tour of Giga Berlin.
Yeah.
And a lot of stories about that.
That's
but
great.
they have 600 members, and I think Austria has 5. No. It was the Slovenia guy said they have 5 million people. How many people live in Austria?
I got work to do.
Just Google it. Producer Eric.
Jamie, pull that up. It's so funny.
Yeah, so Eric's typing.
Yeah, so we got some work to do. It's harder to keep track of now because, it used to all be on one web page, and now we have like multiple places people come in.
Okay, according to Google, just under 9 million.
So they have 600 members and 9 million people, and you have 400 members, and you have like 5 or 6 million people live in Michigan.
We can do much better than that.
Yeah. It is Michigan.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But Norway, Sweden. I talked to Sweden. They have a couple hundred members.
Okay.
But Norway had like 28,000 members. It was crazy.
They have a lot of Teslas.
A lot of Teslas.
Yeah, there's a lot here too now. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
Like when I first got my car, it was a Model 3 now, which like today, if you're like a Model 3, who cares? Everybody has that. Back then, it was like people looked at me like at stoplights, were staring at me, were pointing at the car. I mean, it was weird. That's how it was back then. Now you can't go for a single drive without seeing multiple.
You know, for Jeeps have their Jeep Wave, whatever it is, the peace sign. I don't know what it is. They do something, 2-finger wave. No. Tesla needs a wave. Like, so maybe like just do a Y.
It used to be a thing. It used to be a thing back in the day. Peace sign's pretty common, or just a wave, just normal wave. And it seems
that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, as it became mass adopted, it's kind of this thing of like, do you want to keep it up and risk that rejection? You know, you wave and they don't. You're like, oh, I'm lame. Or you just be the cool one and don't wave.
I have a good story about rural Nebraska. Okay. So I'm from Nebraska.
Okay.
And it's about waving.
Yeah.
And it is like hugely offensive if you don't wave when you're on a dirt road and you're two trucks, like you're driving your trucks.
That's very
and
specific.
You pass, you have to wave. It is like non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. If you don't, like something's wrong. And it gets annoying when you drive into town in these rural towns because you got to wave. So my sister's first husband, he lived in this rural town. He actually built a little hand that bobbed back and forth on his dash.
Funny.
So that as he drove, it was just constantly waving so that he didn't have to actually wave.
Automation of everything.
It was great. It was hilarious because I rode with him. I think I was in high school at the time. And I'm like, what is that? This crude, like, bobbing hand.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, in his truck, you know, so.
Why not?
Yeah.
I did want to ask you about all the AI stuff going on. Are you guys, like, keeping up?
So
I mean, it's impossible to keep up with everything.
I actually started a small task force inside of Munro.
Smart.
Eric doesn't even know about this. Ooh. With our IT guy and our software team to investigate all the tools that are out there to see what we can use.
Man, you got a team of like 10,000 people
here at Munro.
I'm just saying, it's a lot.
Yeah. We'll investigate as many of the tools as possible. And I've poked around with a few of them. So I have a lot of time on some of these flights. So Sandy and I flew to California. I had like 5 hours. And I have internet on Delta flights. So I looked into like 4 or 5 tools, like one that automatically makes PowerPoint presentations. So I just like typed in a title of a presentation and it created a 15-slide presentation. And it was horrible. It was literally horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And I had a chat GPT. Mm-hmm. I had to write an essay for Automation Alley, and I wrote my own essay. And then after I was done, not before, I'm like, I had it write an essay on the same topic, and it wrote 2/3 as many words, and it was like 70% right, but so generic and boring.
Yeah.
If I think it's still so far away from true human intellect, creativity, and I can clearly tell it's not sentient.
Yeah.
Like maybe that I'm defending it because like transitions and flow and like the character of paragraphs and like I'd always thought I was horrible at English, and then I realized other people are really bad at writing. And so I wrote this essay and we submitted. It was like 1,000 words. Eric bothered me. I was supposed to get it done like months ago, and I took forever, and I was late, and I submitted it, and it's out there somewhere. It's some article. But I was proud of it. Like, and it had a lot to do with Tesla and the design of their vehicles and how it impacts the supply base and ingenuity and integration and some of the things we saw with the super manifold, the super bottle, the octo valve, and what that's done to the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 supply base.
Yeah, it's all very specific.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Yeah.
And I just think a lot of people tout up these crazy things. Like Sandy was standing in the room, and I'm like, tell me about, write an essay about Sandy Munro in the prose of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So it like wrote this whole thing in kind of this poetic Shakespearean words about Sandy, and he thought that was great. But it's like, it's clearly just ripping it from his Wikipedia page.
Right. Yeah.
Because Sandy has a Wikipedia page.
Right. Yeah. It has all the information, then it's putting it together. Yeah. I found that you really have to have, I think at first, I'll speak for myself, but a lot of people probably were thinking, oh, this can just do everything. And it kind of can, but like you said, it's very generic and pretty boring. And if you think about it really at all, even if it's masked with good graphics or even decent audio, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is not real. It's not a person. It's kind of a robot. But I found if you have more of a specific task for it to do, it can be very good at at doing those things if you feed it with all the information it needs.
Yeah.
So something I've started doing is I've taken, on YouTube, you can go to a video and then look at the transcript. YouTube does it automatically. And I will copy my whole transcript, paste it into ChatGPT. You know, I basically tell it like, hey, read this, you know. And I was like, I'm going to ask you some questions, so just absorb this. And then I'll have it take all of my words and put it into a list of, you know, like I did my review of the Model X. What were all the pros in this video? It lists out everything I said was good. What were all the negatives? It lists out everything I said was bad. And that helps me prepare for the next video. It's not writing my whole video or something, but it can extract all this information much more quickly than I could when I give it those specific things. Now, if I was to say, what are all the pros of a Model X? It's going to be like, oh, it's very efficient compared to other vehicles its size. It's like, okay, who cares? Like, we know. You know, it has 6 to 7 seats, whatever. So if you give it these really specific things to do, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah, I still feel we're decades away from, I imagine you not sitting there and there's a computer sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's text to speech, meaning I talk and ask you a question and it automatically transmits my text to a question to ChatGPT 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it formulates a human verbal response. As dynamic as this conversation, I just feel like we're not close.
Yeah. Again, it depends on how it's all crafted. I kind of agree with you. So the whole part of, you know, where some people are scared of it taking over, I mean, I feel like that's far away. Maybe that's just me being naive to the whole field. But in terms of it doing something like that, it's just kind of the skin you're putting on it. And you can find tools that you can talk to it, it'll talk back, it'll have a decent graphic, and it can do okay. It can do okay. And you know what? A lot of this, if we take it back to like full self-driving beta, I think a lot of it are your expectations.
Yeah.
Because if you go into it, like that's a huge expectation. Yeah. You basically want it to replace a human, and it's not there.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm
But some
saying.
people are like, whoa, this computer can write a whole essay? That's crazy. Computers couldn't do anything before, right?
Yeah, if I was in middle school, I'd be pumped.
For sure.
Oh my God, do you know how much writer's block I had when I was in 6th grade?
Yeah.
And I had to write a 600-word essay, and now all I got to do is say, write a 600-word essay on covalent bonds and organic chemistry or whatever.
Yeah.
And it writes the basis of it, and then you modify some words and flip it around.
Right. Put it in your own words.
Gosh, the ability to process information nowadays is so much easier than when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I had to write with a pen and pencil.
Me too. We didn't have computers till I was
cursive.
10 or so. Yeah, we did cursive too.
I see Eric kind of getting antsy over there. We up on time?
Yeah, it's time to start wrapping it up.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the show. The podcast is relatively new. We've had some awesome guests, you being one of them. I know you had some imposter syndrome when you showed up.
I was like, man, I've seen some of your guests.
He's
what
like
am I doing here?
CEO of Polestar and me. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Some great insight. Always love having you down here. I think this is your second or third time here at Munro.
Yeah.
And look forward to seeing you in Muskegon this summer. Any final words? Anything you want our viewers or listeners to check out? You want to subscribe to your channel?
Well, I was going to say make sure you subscribe to the podcast that you're listening to right now in case you haven't yet.
Yeah, thanks.
But yeah, subscribe to Dirty Tesla if you have questions about Tesla vehicles, electric vehicles, you want to learn. I'm all about that. I'm very open to conversation. I get tons of DMs, and I will talk one-on-one with you if you want about any topics.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.